Welcome to Between Views. I'm your host, Alec Koski. This podcast aims to cast light on and connect you with inspirational people, identify them as potential mentors in your journey, and share their wisdom with the world. This is part 3 of our interview with inspiring entrepreneur, hunter, father, athlete, and owner of Fallow Nutrition, Dan Maberly. We really hope you enjoy. I'd also like to take a moment to remind you that this set of podcasts has been brought to you by Fallow Nutrition, an Australian-made, all-natural and organic, vegan, gluten, dairy and nut-free nutrition company that has been inspired by nature and handcrafted in the snowy mountains. At Fallow, they believe in the power of plants to transform your health and well-being. They offer premium quality plant protein powders, superfood pre-workout and electrolytes that will nourish your body, support muscle growth and help enhance your overall performance. At Between Views, nothing gets us more excited than a post-workout smoothie with a huge scoop of Fallow protein. The link to Dan's product will be left in the description below. Remember, use the code FALLOW10 for 10% off your orders. One thing that I'd love to talk about now is, so I obviously currently am trying to sort of build this interview thing up. I'm trying to get Between Views to be a bit larger, and the journey that it takes, because, you know, you can't sell a product if people's eyes aren't on it. We talk about attention again, right?
Yeah.
Like for a product, you need attention on.
Yeah.
I call it the KFC method. You know, like you think about it, KFC has an ad every single ad break.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, KFC is part of your life, right? They've directed attention to it. They've made it part of your day-to-day, and like subconsciously like, maybe that's part of my life, right? That's how it works. And even it's getting a mention right now.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's the
Great
value
marketing.
of it.
Yeah.
Truly. And I was just wondering, like, I feel a bit lost at it sometimes. I've had some amazing people come on and talk about their sort of style of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to know if there's, like, what was your journey with building up your sort of marketing and social media side of things for your product?
Cool. Well, social media has never really been my strong point, especially like even business in general. Like, I feel like it was just another skill that I was like, yep, I'm lacking in that. I need to get better. I'm going to start a business. Go in the deep end.
That's my method too. Rather than plan or think or overthink it too much, get it started.
Yeah, that's it.
And then figure it out.
Just get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So with social media, we started, we wanted to, like, I got a bit of advice from a few different mates who are social media marketers, and and advice on getting reels and making reels and doing short reels, because people like short reels, and it's good for the algorithms to get exposure. Sort of like little info tidbits. So we've started making more reels just about our general life and what we do, what we use the products with. So we've got our Meal Mondays. So what meals are we having? You know, so we show what high quality meals we're having and how we incorporate our products into some of our meals.
So you're sharing information that is important to you for your nutrition with your public and how you might use the product. So it's kind of like showing the product, but also being like, well, why get it if you can't use it for anything? Like, you got to use it for insert meal here.
You've got to build trust, because if people aren't going to buy your product if they don't trust you.
I heard this. This is what Sophie said on the last podcast. She said that, like, it's relationships and trust that actually starts building the following.
Yeah.
It's the interactions on a repeated basis with people that are honest and real that actually build it.
Yeah. Like, we don't have high level professional videos and stuff like that. Most of the time it's just me recording with Aquila on my shoulders, and I'm recording Teresa running down the little running track that we've got here on the property, and just doing little ghetto workouts outside. But I love it. That's how we're training. That's what we're doing. So we're just
showing people your truths a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of for the average person. Like, you don't need to be a super high class, gold medalist athlete to use it, even though you can, because there is no banned substances in there. That's a little point to add too.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, there's no banned substances in my pre-workouts, no crazy chemicals that'll get you you're banned from your competitions.
Mm.
We've got our mate Drew Powell in Latvia. He's representing the snowboard cross team in Latvia.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he's using our products because he's vegetarian, and mate, he's loving it. He's loving it over there. So it's good. So we're trying to get some athletes, and we're looking into getting some micro influencers and some macro influencers. So
I've never heard about this before.
Yeah, so micro influencers, like sort of under 10,000 followers, just to get a little bit of exposure, and then macro guys like plus 50,000 sort of thing, like big guys with, millions of followers. That's going to get you heaps of exposure and sell your products. But you can buy followers, you can buy things, and that's not the way to. I feel like that's not really the way to do it. We got approached by it was a vegan community, and they just asked if we wanted to, like, it was a vegan community page on Facebook or Instagram, and they asked if we wanted more followers, and I was just like having no idea about this process and everything, just starting the business account. I was just like, oh yeah, that's good, a vegan community, it's a vegan product, it'll be good. And paid them like $50 or something like that, and it was supposed to get like a few, like 2,000 or 3,000 followers or something like that. And we just did a few small posts, and we ended up getting like close to 10,000 followers or something from it. Yeah, it was just really good. And we're getting messages from people in America and stuff, and we realized it was an American it was an American page, and I don't ship to America. So yeah. And a lot of that's fake accounts too. There's so many fake accounts out there. So you want a genuine following, right? You want real people to follow your accounts. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build trust and get people who actually believe in the products to represent them. So not just you've used it once and you're saying, yeah, this is how I perform to the best always because I use this. It's just like, well, you've only used it once. You've spent an entire career building your skills and learning about nutrition and using other supplements to get to where you are, right? I feel like it's not transparent, and it's a bit, it's almost like lying to your customers if you're just getting some random to represent it. So, my cousin, he races in the Australian Superbikes, Jason Martin. He's an absolute legend. He's going to be trying my products, and because he's getting back into training and getting fit for his races. So I'm throwing him a whole bunch of products, and I said to him, look, if you like it and it works for you and you genuinely believe it, then you can promote it, right? And that's it. Like, if you don't genuinely believe in the product, I don't want you to promote it. Right? It's just
so it's like all of this is like, you've got good, honest ingredients. You're trying to keep it as morally sound and sustainable as possible. You're trying to help people get their nutrition right, and you only really want people to talk about it or endorse it if they like it, if they genuinely like it.
Yep.
So for you, obviously, a strong moral must be like trust, or a strong moral must be integrity, because it seems like that theme is running through the entire thing. No matter what it is you're doing, trust and integrity and providing for others seems to be something that's valuable to you.
Definitely.
Would you agree with that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
What so I guess that makes me think instantly, like, that's obviously part of your philosophy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, sort of, what is it and how is it? Like, how have you landed at where you are with sort of your current philosophy on things? Because it's very wholesome and I like it a lot.
So in terms of philosophy, well, my inspiration, like I've had a few inspiring people in my life, and probably my most inspiring person would have to be my dad, right?
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like I'm a split image of my dad. he taught me so much, like lots of hands-on stuff. He taught me how to chainsaw at a young age. He taught me how to mow lawns, and just like Aquila's following me around and
Yeah,
on
he's
my
a little
lawnmower,
helper,
he's
isn't
got
he?
his little
Helps a lot.
lawnmower. It's just the same. I loved it. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd hear the mower going, and I'd just straight away grab all my stuff on and go out and I'd just help without asking, like, because I know I just wanted to help. And I feel like that's something that I got from him and that he taught me. And he was the president of the soccer club, the local soccer club. He was the coach. He worked his ass off, big days. He sacrificed so much, but he was such a loving father, and he always treated us right. And he was always looking out for the family. And he used to say the ultimate measure of one's success is not how much money you have or what position you hold, but the type of person you've become and the effect that you've had on the people around you, right? So if you have a lot of money and you're a crap individual, no one likes you, and you've just spread fear and hurt to other people, right? Well, you may be successful business-wise, but in my opinion, you're not that successful. So success for me is just being a good person and having a community that respects you. And if it wasn't for COVID, he would have had over 1,000 people at his funeral. Like, he had so much respect, and so many people loved him because of the person he was. Right? Wasn't a huge successful businessman. He had his own business for 30 odd years, Sparky business. And he sacrificed a lot to do that. Sacrificed riding his motorbikes on the weekend and things like that. And he was just very inspirational to me. He's the one who got me into motorbikes, and I've got his old Triumph 1980 Bonneville. Oh, love it.
It's a nice bike.
Love it, yeah. Oh, mate, it's so good. It's just, yeah, I love it so much. So he was a big inspiration to me, right? So I've had a few inspiring people, like, even my mum, right? My mum, she's just the same, right? Like, she's the strongest soul I know, and she always knows what advice to give and to support the family, and she has a mental strength that I aspire to achieve. She's the rock. She's the rock of the family. And Dad taught me a lot, but I'm really a mama's boy. I'm really a mama's boy, while the boys,
aren't we all?
While the boys are out, my brothers and my dad would be out in the lounge room watching footy and cheering in the footy, and I'd be in the bedroom with my mum watching a movie, brushing her hair and putting the earrings on her and stuff, and chatting to her. And it was good. Like, yeah. So nice. Yeah, Mum, if you're listening, I love you, mummy dearest, and you're the bestest mummy in the whole wide world, and I love you. Yeah,
every mum would love to hear it.
That's subjective, but I'll believe it. Yeah. So outside of family as well, like, I've looked up to a few inspiring figures. Obviously, I mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger before.
Yeah.
Right? So when I first started bodybuilding, I bought Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding encyclopedia. Well, Adam bought it for me.
Yeah.
$50. This thing's 700 and something pages. And I still use it today. I still use the training principles that he's taught in that book, and just seeing all the inspirational photos and quotes in there, like, imagine your biceps as mountains and they will become mountains. Just things like that. I'm like, yes. It's inspiring. And he has like Guinness World Record of like being one of the most well-rounded, it's like one of the most developed humans on earth, something like that. Crazy good, inspiring individual, and just the best of his era. Yeah. So he inspired me to train that a little bit harder and to follow his principles in there. But also Paul Chek, You know, I've mentioned, well, I haven't mentioned yet, but Paul Chek's book, How to Eat and Move and Be Healthy. That's, you know, one of mine's inspiring.
Yeah, you just
lent
it to me the other day.
Yeah, like that's just got such a wealth of information. Like Arnie's book is amazing, but Paul Chek goes into every aspect of your lifestyle and how to really take a look at your lifestyle and go, where could I be better? Not just in the physical aspect and the physical training and the nutrition side, but also the spiritual side.
Because he's kind of into the neuro-linguistic programming, right? Like he uses that style of mental change to sort of influence positive change in all aspects of your life. The 4 doctors, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's it. And also, like he's got a podcast, Living 4D with Paul Chek.
4 doctors.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, and like I listen to one podcast, at least one a week, and because it takes me about a week to listen to them because they're like 2.5 hours long, I will find so many little like epiphanies that come through. It's almost like the universe telling me, "Oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear at that time." And I'll feel like a little chill go down my spine, and then I'll like pause the video. If I'm driving, I'll make a voice note, or if I'm just out hunting, listening to something, or if I'm out just anywhere listening, I'll just pull out a little notebook and write a little note, or on my phone, write little notes on my phone, and then consolidate them, and then write like what part of the podcast, what time, you know, and then put that into a bigger thing, and then see if I can incorporate that into my training program moving forward. Like it's constantly evolving. I'm constantly learning new information. I love it because he interviews some of the best people in their fields.
Yeah.
And he's got thousands of books. He's done thousands of hours of research. And you think about a book, right? Like a book, some people take 10 years to write a book. So it's 10 years of someone's knowledge put into one book that you can read in a few days, right? So it's like shortcuts, learning from the best.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the best way to learn. Like, what are the best in the world doing? Right? Copy what they're doing, learn from what they're doing.
Yeah, right. So all of this is like under the same category. This is all like role models that have inspired you. And it's kind of crazy when you go through them, because looking at you and knowing you for the time I have, you are like the mesh. You're like the mesh up of these people. And obviously when you look up to someone, you kind of take on their positive traits. When you pay attention to how someone is and just watch them and read about them and read their information, the things they've learned, then you kind of grow into them. And that's kind of the angle of Between Views, literally. Yeah. That is like the angle. I'm really hoping to connect people the same way that you've been connected with all of these people. Obviously, you know, I can see like your father's strong moral running through you, and you learn from him purely by watching as a kid and like being engaged in life, being active with what you do, not sitting around and waiting. From your mum, you're such a strong mental capacity and such a rock yourself for your family and friends, people around you. And when we're having chats and information, that obviously shines through. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, no one can see Dan right now, but if you have a quick look on Dan's profile, he's like a Hercules.
Thank you.
Like Hercules, this guy's massive. And from all the training and nutrition, it's not something that just happens overnight, but also from looking up to people like Arnie. And Paul Chek, like your health shines through because you've been reading about health. The obvious solution is, what's that saying? Where attention goes, energy flows, right? And the more attention you pay to something, it's very obvious that it redirects itself straight back into you, and you become, this is what your dad said, right? Like you become the person that is successful. You become the person who is inspiring others and is helping others. I think it's really amazing to see all of these people shine through. Was there any more?
That's it. Well, yeah, there's another guy that I listened to that Adam introduced me to, called Steve Sadler. So Steve Sadler. So he has a podcast called Enlightenment Radio. Now that's all for more the spiritual aspect, because after my father passed, it was a rough time, right? Naturally, it was a rough time. So I had to sort of come up and find out what is my own cosmology, what's my own belief system, what do I believe has happened, where is he? So I got into a lot of meditation, and I also started understanding and learning about how meditation works from a physiological aspect. So like doing yoga and breath work practices, Tai Chi, things like that. I feel like it's all sort of connected to grow yourself spiritually. So physically, mentally, and spiritually. Now, Steve Sadler, he is part of the Self-Awareness Institute and created the Self-Awareness Institute. And he explains scientifically how these processes work in meditation. So what's happening when you're meditating? He uses NLP techniques as well, neuro-linguistic programming techniques, to help guide and direct where you need to go in the meditation. So he will talk to you in the meditation and give you Shaktipat meditations where you transfer energy, and will explain using examples and using studies as well how this works in a scientific, very intellectual way. So I love it. Like if I ever struggle to go to sleep, I will put on a Steve Sadler podcast, put on the sleep timer, and off I go. You know, it's awesome. I'll sit there smiling. It's awesome. The little things that he says in there, and it just makes you feel relaxed. It takes your mind off the stresses of the day, and you know, I use his techniques to calm myself in high stress situations as well. Whenever I feel myself getting out of balance, I'm like, okay, this feels off. I need to do something about it. And you just take a minute, breathe, focus on your third eye. It's good. So if you're into your meditation, or if you ever feel like you're wanting to get better and wanting to learn about it, Steve Sadler's fantastic for that. He also tells about things that are going on in the world, you know, like things that you just don't really hear about on the news and things like that. And it's good. It's really good. It's enlightening. That's it.
So you would say that the main value of that is that he's kind of like your spiritual practice teacher.
Yeah.
I guess Paul Chek would call it Dr. Quiet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I feel like in all of your models, your role models are literally like the pillars of health.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So meditation and spirituality, as we're all starting to learn and understand, has a deep impact on your life, how you are. We lead incredibly busy lives now. Our minds are so full. And I feel like that sort of almost now requires us to engage with some kind of spiritual practice at whatever level that may be for you.
Yep.
Would you say for people who are just starting their spiritual journey that Paul Sadler would be, is it Paul Sadler? No, it was Steve Sadler, that Steve Sadler would be a good starting point?
Yeah, he's got some great meditations, some great guided meditations, and some real good short ones. Like he's got a 7 chakra meditation, which is really good, and he teaches you about the chakra system. And there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information there. So I listened to him multiple times over and over and over. So I've been listening to him for a few years now, and I still can't like articulate how he just puts it in such a nice way. You know, he's in his 60s, surfer dude in Hawaii.
Oh yeah,
like living off the land. Yeah, I'd love to meet him one day. I'd love to meet him.
Okay.
Yeah, one day.
Same with Paul Chek.
Same with Paul Chek.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. He's as good a place as any to start, because you know yoga's great, and I've been to many different yoga classes. I remember the first time it's funny. I've grown because I used to have an odd perspective. I used to think that yoga was gay. I had this idea in
Right.
my head. I'm like, oh, yoga's gay. You know, this man,
Yeah.
I don't need to stretch. I don't need to do all that.
Yeah.
I just had no idea,
Yeah.
no idea of it. And I went to my
And that was, when you go back to times where even that word was able to be used the way it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can see that people were not going to consider something that was just immediately slandered. Like
exactly.
That. Yeah.
And like, I don't have that perspective on anything now. Like nothing's gay anymore.
No,
like I went to the first yoga class and I was like, this is awesome. This is great. My body feels amazing after this. And it's good to incorporate, physical movements and physical practice as part of your spiritual practice. And, your spiritual practice could be as simple as going outside and being in nature and just appreciating that you're in nature.
Literally.
That's it. It doesn't need to be sitting there for 23 hours a day and doing yoga tapas and things like that. You just be. Just be. So if I'm, for example, sitting outside and watching Aquila run around and play, that's part of my spiritual practice. I'm sitting there and I'm enjoying myself, and I feel like I'm at one with nature.
Oh, speaking of which, I just thought of this, and I feel like right now in my stage of life, I've got a lot of people, yourself included, who are just becoming parents.
Yeah.
They're becoming parents, and you obviously have a much more rich experience of becoming a father.
Yeah.
And I honestly reckon there'd be so many people who would love to hear just like what's your experience with it in general, and like maybe things that have been useful for you as a father. Like, how old's Aquila now?
Aquila's just over 2 now. He's just turned 2, so he's entered the terrible 2s.
The terrible 2s, yeah.
I thought,
what's your experience been like so far?
It's like, I thought I'd be able to duck and weave the terrible 2s, but that was ignorant. He's here, full terrible 2s. It's a thing. But it's the best job ever. Like, because it's a job. Like, it's a full-time job. Like, if you're not treating it as a full-time job, you may be neglecting your kid a little bit. Like, because your kids need attention. They need the attention so you can help them grow.
Yeah, because where attention goes, energy flows.
That's it. And they are just pure emotion. They don't know, oh yeah, you've got to go do the shopping, you've got to make this phone call, you got this. They just see that you're not there for them, and they react to it. So it's been really humbling, and it's made me really reflect on my bad habits as well, because you've got to teach this new life everything, right? So anything that they see is just a reflection of what you've been doing. So if he's picking his nose and eating it, and I'm like, oh, bugger, he saw me in the car doing that. It's just like, oh, and I was like, maybe I should stop that. It's a pretty poor habit. You should stop. That's not good nutrition. So, if I'm like scratching my butt or something, I'll turn around and look, and he's watching me, and he's scratching his butt. I'm like, oh, he's mirror, come on, lift your game. So it really makes you reflect on where you could improve your life, and ultimately makes you better, right? And I'm lucky because we have a mobile personal training business in town. So so I go to clients' places and train them, and it works well. And we used to take Aquila when he was a little fella, and he'd just be sitting in his little crib thing and just enjoying himself there. But now he's running around. It's a bit unprofessional to do that. But so we alternate. So we work it with Teresa. So Teresa works at the local gym as well, Our Country Fitness. And when she's working, I'm looking after Aquila, and we're hanging out here. And sometimes I can multitask. When he's sitting around playing, he's very good at playing by himself. That's very good. So he'll sit around and play with his little train set, or he's actually got a nice little Wii rifle, one of those old Nintendo Wii rifles he sees me walking around with my rifle, and got some cute little pictures. He's just mirroring me. It's cute. So he'll go around and he'll try and shoot objects. We're trying to get him to pretend to take pictures of animals instead of like shooting the animal, pretending to shoot it,
right.
trying to
Shoot
get
on
him
the
to
camera.
take pictures of it and then shoot targets instead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's I reckon he's going to be a little photographer like his uncle.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon. My brother's a real estate photographer and a very good one at that. So I reckon he'll be into that before he's into hunting.
Right.
Yeah.
So far you've learned that as a father, one of the main things is bulk attention needs to be sent that way, and also that like his attention's on you, so you got to act the way that you want him to act, right? Have you ever done something that like frustrated you, but then you realize it was something you do?
Yeah. Yep. Lots. So, for example, the other day, like, because I got a Land Cruiser with an old tape deck in it.
Yeah.
And I went to play some music the other day because I got a little auxiliary cord that attaches to the tape deck. And I noticed there was something off with it. And I looked in there and there was about 10 coins in there in the slots. In the slots of the tape deck, and it's all jammed in there. it's just rooted. And at first I was like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, it's so frustrating. Like, all I need is to get tweezers and take it all out. But at the time it was frustrating. And I'll tell my mum, and she's just like, yep, that's exactly what you used to do, except it was in the CD slots. She's like, I was worse apparently as a kid. And yeah, I would put it in air vents and stuff that. Yeah, so it's just little things. But the good like greatly outweighs the bad. Like there's so many cute little moments. Like like he woke me up the other day by grabbing my face and going, Dad, Mum, because he could hear Mum training outside because she does the early morning training. So it was so cute. And like just seeing him smile, like it just melts your heart. Like I didn't think that I'd be able to have so much love for something, but something that also frustrates you more than anything else as well. But it's really good training. It's good training for life. Yeah. It teaches you good patience.
So overall, what I'm hearing is they're a mirror of you, so you need to act well in the mirror.
Yeah.
You're going to see your own bad habits come up, so you need to learn to be patient and just realize why those are happening. The other thing as well, of course, is that even though it may be frustrating and it's hard as, it's going to be hyper rewarding. Is there any more tips you would give like a new father, for example?
Whenever I'm getting frustrated, like really like in the moment, I try and catch myself when I can feel myself getting frustrated. And I use a Paul Chek technique. And he says, just ask yourself, what would love do?
Oh,
right? What would love do in that situation? Would love scream at this kid that doesn't understand what you're doing? You're just throwing negative energy at it, right? Or would you treat it with love and compassion? So it's one of those things. Like one of my biggest life lessons is treat others the way you'd like to be treated, right?
Of course.
Do I want to be yelled at? I don't like being yelled at. I don't like being bullied. I got bullied as a kid. I don't like it. So if you treat them with love, you see the difference. They don't always stop what they're doing, but it's a good way to handle situations, and it's a good little thing to pull yourself up on and go, hang on a minute, what would love do here? And sometimes you've got to do a little bit of a tough love and put him in timeout for 2 minutes and deal with the screaming, but that's all part of the love, right? So that's one of the tools that I use. Just ask yourself, what would love do? What would love do? It's like love would go, yes, you just ripped a whole bunch of leather off the couch. Hence why those patches are glued onto the side. Yeah. It's just like, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but he doesn't know that it's a leather couch. So what would love do in this situation? you talk to them calmly, and make sure that they understand that they're not doing the right thing. It's pretty hard when they're, in terrible twos, or when they're younger, they don't really know what they're doing. So you can't just throw negative energy at them, because it's not good for anyone involved, really.
Yeah. So the question is asking yourself, what would love do? It's something that helps you to calm down and just recenter and take it from a more compassionate angle, I suppose.
Take a deep breath as well.
Yeah, of course.
Very deep breath.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're sort of coming towards the end of the podcast here.
Oh, that went quick.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It goes so quick. Everyone's like, 90 minutes, what am I going to say? But then we could still keep talking, and probably we will after this.
I'd love to have a rant.
So I was originally going to ask, how do you help others? What's your angle on making a difference? But the answers are all in the podcast. It's very plain to see. It's very obvious. So I'm going to leave that one right out. So how we usually wrap this up is something that I've actually borrowed from another podcast. And the question that was left for you from Sophia Balanay, my dear friend from the States, lives in Hawaii, awesome businesswoman, just absolutely crushing out in the world. She has left for you this question. What value did you gain from being on this podcast?
Well, thanks, Sophia, because I thought about this and I gained a lot. From this. And in the preparation for this podcast, I gained more clarity on my current dreams and what techniques I actually do use to navigate life and help me grow and evolve. And it's doing this has also helped overcome my fear of judgment, right? My fear of saying the wrong thing, or just being judged, because nobody likes to be judged. And as a kid, I was a little fat kid, and I got bullied a lot. And in some occasions, I probably deserved it. I was probably a little bit of a crappy kid sometimes, but it sucks being judged. And one of my biggest fears about not only starting a business and using social media to explode the business was being judged. And I used to I still listen to a lot of podcasts, and I think, oh man, if there's like millions of people listening, say one wrong thing and people are just going to comment, blah, 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 blah. But everyone's going to have an opinion. So this is actually really good to help me take that next step and overcome that. And I feel that this is something that I knew I needed to do for a while, like even just having a conversation like with you, because I was avoiding it. Right. I knew it's a good way to talk and spread information and help other people and help inspire other people, but I was avoiding it because of my fear of judgment. Right. So one thing that sticks in my head was Tony Robbins. I went to a Tony Robbins Unleash Your Power last year, and that was amazing. Like inspirational seminars. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And one thing that he said is, the rewards are in the things you're avoiding.
Yeah, it's written on a board in your office.
That's
right?
it. So
I
see it every day. I said, take massive action. So it's, what am I avoiding? What am I avoiding doing? And just do it. Just do it. Don't make excuses. Just do it. Take massive action, and things will work out the way that they're meant to, right? And I feel like this podcast was also like showing me that, I'm on the right path. Like it came like just literally the day before you came and asked me to be on the podcast. I was going, oh, nah, I could only be on a podcast if it's small and not too many listeners and not too much judgment and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden the next day you show up, you're like, hey, I've started a podcast. Do you want to be on it? And I'm like, well, the universe is throwing that at me, saying, "Hey, stop avoiding it, go do it."
Yeah,
So yeah, it's shown me. It's just another confirmation that I'm on the right path and that I'm doing the right things to help me learn, grow, and evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for having me
Nice.
on.
That's a great answer, actually. I really enjoyed that. I think Sophie will enjoy that too. I might reach out to her. Cool. I guess so. There's only one thing left to do, and it's for the tradition, the routine, the ritual to continue. So, do you have a question for the next person on the podcast?
I do.
Right.
And that's, everyone experiences stress and fear, whether it's in your work or your relationships with yourself or others. So how do you manage and overcome different stress in your life? What tools do you use?
Great question. All right. Well, Dan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to Between Views. I've had a really nice time talking with you like I usually do. We usually have hours-long conversation anyway, so this was not out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your time and being willing to come and help me, because you're helping me so much by being on here. And honestly, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too.
Me too. It's awesome. Thanks for having me.
And no problem at all.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the final part of our interview with Dan. If you enjoyed what you heard, please jump over to Instagram and give him a follow at Fallow Nutrition. You can also go and check out fallownutrition.com and use the code FALLOW10 for 10% off your first order. Also remember, the best way you can support this podcast is by following or subscribing to Between Views on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, or liking and sharing it with a friend. Remember to leave comments in the section below. Finally, if you know someone who deserves to be interviewed or have just got some feedback for us, then drop us an email at betweenviewsbv@gmail.com or give us a message on Instagram. Thanks again and see you soon. Between Views.